know if it'll be any better than Danny's because I was half asleep when I was writing this. But for those of you who may not know me, my name is Stephany, and I co-shepherd the Best House Church, Egypt House Church, with Stephen Lee. I wish I could say that I happily volunteered to be up here giving my testimony, but the truth is that Cecilia, Chiwon, and I were voluntold to give our testimonies as a consequence of us trying to be funny. PD obviously didn't find our joke as funny as we did, so here we are. Also, I have stage fright, so this may turn into a rap, so I apologize in advance, but I will do my best to try to keep a good pace. As many of you may know, most of our ANF Shepherds went down to Houston this past Thursday to Saturday to attend the Shepherds Conference hosted by New Life Fellowship. To be honest, I had no expectations for this conference. I had my pharmacy board exam 2 days before the conference, so I didn't have time to even think about the conference. And to be even more honest, I didn't want to go. My next portion of the boards is only 2 weeks away, and I couldn't afford to give up any more of my study time. However, I am so grateful that I got to go because it was truly humbling and brought me the healing and restoration that I had been longing for a while. I learned so much and was filled with so much encouragement through this conference, but for the sake of time and my well-being, I will just share the biggest highlights from this conference. As we were driving back after the conference, Jason, Steven, Chiwon, and I had a semi-debrief, and we discussed our takeaways from the conference. And as I was thinking about everything I got out of the conference, the first thing that came to mind was the peace and closure that I received after attending the session about healthy boundaries. Honestly, I felt God drawing me to the session from day one, but I was hesitant to attend the session because I was afraid I would hear something that I wasn't ready to hear. Some of you guys may know, but we had a member in our house church who was with us for about 2 years before deciding to leave our church. This person's departure affected me a lot more than I was willing to admit. If I'm being really real, it shattered my confidence as a shepherd. When we were going through the process of multiplication, I told Cecilia I would take responsibility and care for this member. When this member expressed their desire to leave the church with PD, he consulted me, and I told him that I wasn't ready to let this person go and that I wanted to keep trying. This went on for a couple of months until finally there came a point where I just couldn't see what else I could do for this person. So we had to let them go. I felt sorry to Phil and Cecilia and PD that I had failed not only this member, but them as my leaders. At that time, I really did feel I did all that I could. I loved and cared for this person the best that I could. However, soon afterwards, I started to have doubts. I was filled with guilt and started to despise myself. I felt incompetent, and I couldn't help but constantly think, was it my fault? If this person stayed at Phil and Cecilia's house church, would they still be here at ANF? Did I really do my best? Was it really enough? Should I have held my tongue one more time? I think my biggest concern was, did I throw in the towel too soon? Should I have told PD I still wanted to try? With these thoughts constantly flooding my mind, day in and day out, shepherding became extremely difficult. I felt that nothing I did was ever enough, and I felt that I couldn't say things that I wanted to say, and I constantly thought about stepping down. But through this session and through the Q&A panel at the end of the conference, I was able to find more peace and healing from this. The speakers talked about how God sets our boundaries, and boundaries show where I end and someone else begins. He gave an example of the parable of the Samaritan man. There was a random man that was beat up and half dead on the road, and several people just passed by without helping. But a Samaritan man passing by, though he didn't know the man, cared for him and took him to an inn so that he could rest and heal. Once the man was stable, the Samaritan man asked the innkeeper to watch over him as he had other businesses to attend to and left the man. I think this gave me reassurance that I did do my all to help this member, and though my all wasn't enough, that is where my boundary ended, but that is also the start for someone else's boundary for this person. It was also encouraging to hear that other village leaders who have been serving for over 15 years have had similar experiences and just knowing that I'm not alone and that despite them having members leave or even get kicked out, they have been so successful in their ministry. It gave me great hope and encouragement to not let this bog me down anymore, but to keep on pressing on. Also, I was extremely humbled through this conference. My house church is great, but the one thing that I always complain about is our lack of VIPs. I was secretly angry and bitter at my house church members, at myself and Stephen, and even at God that 2.5 years after multiplying, we still don't have a single house church VIP. But on our first night there, Pastor Eric was explaining the 5 purposes of the conference, and one was to recommit to the Shepherd's Covenant we had signed when we became shepherds. And honestly, I didn't even remember what was all on the covenant, so when I got home, I reread it and realized that maybe the reason we haven't had a VIP is because we're not ready to have one. Yes, bringing a VIP is part of the covenant that I signed, but so is being responsible for the spiritual growth of my house church members. This is just as important, but I was only focused on the VIP part, that I was neglecting the spiritual growth of my house church members, and it made me realize that if I can't even take care of my own house church members, how can I possibly care for a VIP? Pastor Eric emphasized the fact that being shepherd over a house church means being the head pastor over the house church members. And I was immediately humbled when I heard that because there was no way I was anywhere close to being anything like a pastor to my house church members. The reason I attended this conference, other than the fact that PD told me to go, was to learn how to be a better shepherd for my house church members. I want to apologize to all of my house church members for not caring for and loving you guys as much as I should, and for not being the best example of Christ to you guys. Moving forward, I promise to be more present in your guys' spiritual growth and to do my best to be a better shepherd for you guys. I hope one day everyone can go to this conference and be encouraged by other shepherds who have been doing this so much longer than us and share our struggles.